All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here and for attending all our sessions. I know quite a few of you have been to all the sessions. And today with us, we have Nancy Hauschildt. Nancy is an ICF professional certified coach, an advanced certified mentor coach, and Clifton Strengths certified coach with over a decade of experience in executive and leadership coaching. As a senior faculty member at Empower Coaching and Training Academy, Nancy trains the next generation of coaches to meet and exceed ICF standards, helping them deepen their presence while mastering the art of science of coaching. Welcome, Nancy. We are very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so very much. I am delighted to be here, delighted to have been invited to this amazing week with this incredible lineup of coaches. I've actually been to a few of the sessions myself, and just amazing. It's been an incredible week. So thank you so much for having me. And so to set the tone of how we'll engage in the next 90 minutes, I just want to say that I don't want to be here as the expert in the room, but really like a partner in a conversation, a coach among other coaches, where we can talk freely about this topic that I'm talking about today, reflexivity and the coaching mindset. So I'm going to invite you to share, to speak up, raise your hand or just unmute, or if you prefer to communicate in the chat, I'm going to have Claudia keep an eye out for me. And yeah, let's just have a conversation. So I'm going to do a few activities with you and maybe just a little teaching toward the end. But my real hope is that you walk away with something to keep exploring beyond today's session, that it feels like an invitation to think about, to notice, to kind of play with ideas on how you show up as a coach, who you are as a coach, and what may be influencing your being as a coach and your presence as a coach. Now, I'm not here to talk about presence, the core competency presence, but we all know that the coaching mindset impacts how we show up as coaches and our coaching presence. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Is that all good with you? Yeah, all right. Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing some slides with you. I have two screens, so just give me a second. Okay. I share that screen. Let me know if you can see.
Yes, we can see it.
See the slides? Okay, perfect. All right, so today we're exploring the inner work of coaching, which, as we all know, it is the ongoing practice of not only reflecting before, in between, after sessions, but also developing the capacity to notice what's happening within us as we're coaching. That's the reflexivity piece. So you might think of reflexivity as reflection in motion. It's that moment to moment awareness of how our inner world shapes who we are as coaches. And, I want to acknowledge that all of us here on this call, we're coming into this space with different backgrounds, with different histories, with different sensitivities. I don't know your stories. You don't know my story. And I want to honor all of that here. I'm going to share some images at some point. If you notice something that feels like it's stirring something in you, or it feels a little bit uncomfortable, I want to invite you to fully do what you need to take care of yourself. If you need to take a break or walk away or step away for a moment, please do that. You know what you need most in this space. So please, please, please feel free to take care of yourself. So right away, to kick us off, we're going to start with pausing to consider who we are as coaches. And so when you think about who you are as a coach, not the techniques, that we use or the models that we have learned or favor or our coaching philosophy necessarily, although they could be part of it. But what I'm really thinking about is like who shows up when you coach? Who is the you? Who is the identity of you as a coach? Don't think about the resume or the LinkedIn profile, but the you that emerges in the coaching space. So just take a minute or two to let whatever lands on your paper land there. Just notice what arises as you reflect on who you are in your role as a coach. And just maybe even to stir your thinking a little bit, you might want to explore, do you experience coaching as carrying a responsibility, a certain level of responsibility? And if so, to whom or to what? You might want to consider what you notice in yourself when you're fully grounded, fully present, and maybe even when you're not. What qualities feel most you when you're coaching? When do you notice that you come alive as a coach? Maybe even what feels essential to who you are in that space. So I'm going to be quiet now. I'll play a little music just so it's not dead silence. I'll let you think it through and maybe jot a few things down. Do you all need more time? You good? Okay. So I'm going to ask Claudia to put you in a breakout room. And what I'd love to have you do is to take 5 minutes in pairs to share what surfaced for you. What came up, share with one another who you are as a coach. What came up? Maybe 2.5 minutes each way, and then we'll set a timer for like 5 minutes.
Can you choose a room? Are you invited to choose a room?
Yes.
No?
I'm
Yeah.
not seeing anything.
Okay, let me do this.
Do we choose our own room?
I'm gonna send you guys manually. Just so I
Okay.
get it. There you go.
Joining room 2. I'm still here.
I'll stop sharing my slides that way.
I click on joining room 2, but then I came back.
Huh? What was that? Erica, oh, I have one. Okay.
There we go. Everybody's in a room now.
Oh, Valeska left. Wait. Oh, Valeska went.
To a room.
I think I sent her to a room. That's okay.
She can participate. Yeah. Okay. I just set my timer because I don't know how to do the clock here on Zoom or whatever. Or you do, you could set a timer, right? Like in the
I think
Zoom?
so. But wait. But we can take, I can, how much? 5 minutes, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's Rosario.
Hey, did I leave you out?
I don't know what happened, but I went out and then just joined back the Zoom.
Okay, let me send you off to another room.
Okay. Let me see.
There's Shakti.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Hi, Shakti. We're working on breakout rooms. Do you want to stay here? Or do you want to go?
Do I know what to do in the breakout room?
We're
May-
discussing who we are as coaches. If you can define who you are, your identity as a coach.
Okay, sure. See,
And
if
share
there's
that.
a space to pop me in, I'd love to participate. Thank you. Sorry to be late.
Okay, that's okay. Let's see. Let me see. Room 4. Okay, I'm gonna assign you to room 4.
Thank you.
There you go. Did
So
you-
they're in breakouts of mostly 2 and 3.
Yeah, they have 3, 3, 3, 3. And 3. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I had created 6, 7 rooms, but for some reason somebody left the
Mhm.
whatever. We'll give them, I guess we'll give them 4 minutes more.
Yeah, so far, I started a little bit after they went in, so I barely have 3 minutes on my clock.
Okay.
So maybe 2 more or 3. We
Yeah.
could give them 3
Or because they
because
are,
people just joined.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're groups
fine.
of 3 and we talk a lot.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I think all right. Welcome back, everyone. So I'd love to hear what it was like to give voice to who you are as a coach. What was that like for you? Anyone? And you can use the chat too if you'd like. Anything was interesting. By the way, I forgot to say there's no wrong answer here, right? Just really a reflection on how you see yourself and what influences you. Love it. It was great. It created awareness. Anyone else? Any qualities that you notice or that you wrote down or identified?
Is your question about what we identify for ourselves or what we heard in our
Yeah,
group?
for yourselves, sure. Yeah.
Well, I wrote down and I shared in our group that I use a post-coaching survey, and one of the questions is on what qualities would you recommend me as a coach to friends or to associates? And when
Beautiful.
I take a prevalence of those themes, that's what I used, and that was humor with edge.
Love it. Yeah.
It's not compelling, but it's a start.
Yeah. And that's a reflection that you receive from your clients. Beautiful. Love it. Okay, let's read what Regan, is that how you say? Sorry if I'm not saying it right. It was lovely to have time to intentionally reflect on how I show up. I identified as a bartender, and Shakti helpfully pointed out that stands out about that is the non-judgmental perspective. Love it. That's creative. Anyone else would like to share?
I can say that it wasn't very easy for me to answer this. I think it should become easier over time. Somehow this is not necessarily the case for me at all times, but I think I really appreciated hearing Bregan's perspective around leadership, and Heather, who was in the room, had Heather, I don't know if it's okay if I share, you had some analogous perspective that it's kind of like with the hairdresser.
Oh, yes.
Which both of those felt to me like a space of, these are people who are non-judgmental, people who we quickly feel comfortable speaking with. And I guess that is the main thing that coaching brings. So.
Beautiful, beautiful reflections. Love hearing all of that. And so, that exercise is just, naming those parts of ourselves that we might call our inner landscape. It's like how we view ourselves and maybe how other people view us, like Heather, was it Heather that mentioned her clients? Yeah. Other people view you. And so we're going to stay in that path with that inner landscape for a little bit, but now instead of thinking about how we view ourselves, we're going to quickly feel how quickly that inner landscape responds to our environment, to what's around us. So I'm going to show you a series of images in just a little while. And what I would like for you to do is to just notice what happens inside of you. Any thoughts, any emotions, any sensations that may arise as you look at them. And maybe even you may want to jot down a few notes of what comes up for you as you notice. I'm gonna move through them, fairly quickly, maybe a few seconds each, and then just notice what comes up for you. Okay? Again, if something doesn't feel comfortable for you, please feel free to step away. And let me get back to my share. Bear with me, I'm working with two screens here. Okay. And let me move away from this one. And we're going to get to the images. Okay, here we go. Okay. We can take a breath together now. So what happened inside of you as you saw the images? What did you notice? Any sensations in your body?
I mean, the emotions change from one emotion to a very deep, similar emotion on the other side of the spectrum,
Yeah. So the intensity shifted?
The intensity shifted, but I feel like all the images were like strong images in the sense that they show you intense emotions, like the mother and the baby, so much love. But then the images of destruction and the car crash is like, oh my God, so much violence, or the homeless also, like, I feel like all the images were strong in the sense that evoked strong emotions in the whole spectrum.
Thank you for sharing, Rosario. Anyone else?
Well, for me, it changed from joy and peacefulness and coziness and safety to chaos and very heavy emotions and anger, and so opposite from the first images.
Yeah. So a little similar to Rosario, where you had some maybe positive emotions that shifted.
You know what this brought to me right now while Flavia was talking?
Yes.
how do we compose ourselves as coaches when we have in front of us this, you know, when these emotions come up with the client, you know, extreme emotions from one to the other, like how do you keep yourself like zen?
Well, that's what we're here to discuss. That's a great question, Rosario, and hold on to that one because it's gonna evolve. That question is definitely going to evolve. But anybody else would like to say, did any maybe assumptions or stories start to form in your mind about anything that you saw, or maybe how we label things? Sometimes we may label something as good, bad, safe, unsafe, happy, sad. Anything that came up for you that way?
I was writing down a bunch of emotions, but then what hit me was the kind of duality of the ups and downs of life in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for tolerating those images. Clearly, they're meant to evoke emotion. And the point of that being is, how is this like coaching? Feel free to share.
I think it's what we see through our clients' eyes and emotions. It's what we're exposed to in every single session.
Thank you, Claudia.
Yeah, I I think for me, I I know that a lot of my clients are kind of dealing with the stress of the real world right now, and so especially the part that looks a bit political felt like something that is authentically going on in the background of my clients' lives. And everybody has a perspective on that, and so really being able to remain neutral in the presence of that is something that was coming up for me.
Thank you.
And I would like to add what Claudia said, as a coach, is how I go through the day with all those emotions, because you have one client that the session, there are lots of joy and happiness, and then maybe the next client has it's in another state and it's sadness. And so we see what those pictures that you put throughout the day. Right, it's one client and another with different emotions. So this is what I was thinking, and it reminded me of a situation when I had in one day because of external factors, something that happened in the world. I had all my clients bringing sadness, despair, fear, one after another. And then after my fourth client, I always have breaks, obviously, in between clients, but I was feeling that heaviness. I had to call my supervision group. I text them and I said, I feel that I need supervision now because this is the emotion of the day.
And that's practicing reflexivity right there, Valeska. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because we do, right? As coaches, we hold this container. And we are humans as well. We are humans. So what happens for us when we're holding this container for our clients, we're not devoid of emotion. We are humans just like our clients are. So we feel something. There's something in there. So I want to play with this idea that, is it possible for us to be completely neutral and non-judgmental? It's almost, if you think about it, it's almost denying our own humanity. Because of course, if you're highly sensitive, you can feel somebody's pain when they're in pain sometimes. Not everybody. Sometimes some people are better at it than others. I know I'm certainly, if I were to define one of the qualities of who I am as a coach, is deeply sensitive. And so I have to watch myself around that because I hurt inside when somebody else is hurting. And while it's a quality that can create connection and trust, it also could get in the way and be in this in that space for my clients. So I have to be aware of that. So what you just experienced is really just a microcosm of what reflexivity is all about. It's being aware of what's happening inside of us. You're noticing what is happening with your client, but you're also noticing what is happening inside of you. And that's a very fast, very human, emotional part of your brain, what neuroscience calls the implicit system. It's implicit, it's there, it's automatic, and it's constantly, our system is also scanning for meaning and for safety. So as we're listening to our clients, we're trying to understand, what does it mean? What does it mean? And it never shuts off. Even when you're coaching, it doesn't shut off because you're still bringing yourself, the human. So what you notice in that space, that relational space that you are with your client, it's not just your client bringing their energy. It's you. It's that partnership that you're also bringing into the space and noticing what is happening for you inside of that space. And having an awareness of how much our own background, our own experience, our own upbringings also shapes the way that we relate to our clients. So let's see what it looks like now through the lens of the core competencies. Let's go to Embodies a Coaching Mindset. Let me look at time because I'm terrible about time. Okay. So here's the 2025 definition of Embodies a Coaching Mindset. And I highlighted in red the newer pieces that were added, the new additions. Engages in ongoing personal and professional learning and development as a coach, works with coaching supervisors or mentor coaches as needed. And then that last piece was already there, develops and maintains a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. And so what's new here is that it's explicitly inviting us to engage in ongoing personal and professional learning and development, and to work with coaching supervisors or mentors as needed. So it's not, a technical change that was added. It's really an evolution of the consciousness toward greater reflexivity and relational learning as coaches. Ongoing, notice ongoing, so that means it's not a one-time thing, and engagement with others. It's telling us something important here, that our growth as coaches isn't meant to happen in isolation. It's good to be reflective, to journal, to do that self-work on your own. But coaching is a human-to-human process. And because humans are complex, not just our clients, we ourselves are complex. We are we're invited, even expected. Now it's an expectation that we are in continuous learning, reflection, and dialogue with others about our coaching, where we get stuck, where we're finding it hard, who we are being in there, what holds us back as coaches. All of that is part of, something that we can bring, like Valeska said, bring to supervision and mentoring. So it's no longer enough to just reflect privately before sessions or after sessions. Reflexivity is inherently relational, and it grows when we engage in supervision and peer dialogue and mentoring. So any thoughts on this? I can't see all of you, so please feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Here, me, Erika.
Yes. Hi, Erica.
That's why the beauty of to be a coach.
Yeah.
That's the why I love this work, because it's an opportunity to reflect on ourselves, and it's a responsibility to be in our looking for our well-being, to help others to be to achieve the goals. So that's beautiful of our profession. I'm a psychologist, and my parents were psychologists, so I'm like
Yes.
do that many years ago, but also now with the coaching is expanding the way that a psychologist see the stuff, because as psychologists we have to direct, we have to give a diagnosis, we have to interpreting the stuff, and here is we are partnering with the client.
Yeah.
Like it's more fun.
Yes, beautiful. And what I appreciate is that the ICF is acknowledging that it is more complex, that, maybe 20 years ago, they were telling us to be a blank canvas, to, be non-judgmental. And now I think they're recognizing, and this is why, let me move on to the next slide. They've changed a few things in some of the languaging around them, because they recognize that we are human beings too, with feelings and emotions and complexities and life experiences that shape who we are as a coach, and maybe influence how we coach, how we listen, what we hear, and how we might respond and ask questions. So they're recognizing that we are humans too, and they're inviting us. In fact, I appreciate that you said well-being, Erica, because that came into the core competencies. So these are not all the core competencies in Embodies a Coaching Mindset. I selected the ones that I feel connect to the reflexivity piece. So 2.3 stayed the same. 2.4, I notice I highlighted biases because that's something that they added. So here's, the ICF is naming something that we all know to be true. None of us can be 100% neutral. We have biases. It's not a bad thing. It's not a negative. So maybe in the past it used to be seen as a negative, but we bring that. That's part of our own uniqueness within ourselves. Obviously, we don't want to be judgmental, but that's what the practice of reflexivity is inviting us to do, is to, what do I believe and why do I believe it? My mentor coach, Tijen Jenko, she calls it family heirloom sometimes, like things that we inherited, messages from our upbringing. And, sometimes just like maybe you want to give up that heirloom, and maybe you don't, maybe you want to keep it. But at least being aware of it gives us a choice. 2.5 remained the same. 2.6, I don't know what you think of all this. They changed the word manage from regulate. Develops and maintains the ability to manage one's emotions as opposed to regulate one's emotions. Any thoughts on that one?
Manage feels more to me like the way it resonates for me is more that there's a responsibility that you take to actively focus on your emotions. Not regulate feels a little bit more passive, and manage feels a little bit more active. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, great observation. Anybody else?
For me, manage feels a more positive way than regulate for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that regulate kind of comes off as having to change something, when and manage you're more aware of. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah. I can't see all of you, so please feel free to unmute yourself if you want to speak. For me, when I think of regulating my emotions, it implies that I have full control at all times. I can regulate them at any time. Like I have control, and sometimes, as we know, our nervous system is in control sometimes until we're aware. So for me, manage implies, like Shakti, I think, says an ongoing process. Like I am aware that something is happening inside of me, and maybe I can't get to a place where I can fully control it, but I'm aware of it and I can manage it in the moment. And I'm allowing it, and I'm working with it, I'm managing it. That's kind of the feel that I get. I mean, I didn't write these, but that's kind of like my interpretation, that somehow regulating means something beyond my skill level or something. I don't know. What are anybody else have a different thought around that? Yeah, okay. So there's that one. And then number 7, so that one changed from maintains and emotionally prepares for the session, which is what Erica mentioned, maintains emotional, physical, and mental well-being in preparation for, throughout, and following the session. So again, it's that ongoing process that is key here. 2.8 stayed the same, and then they added these 2 new competencies: nurtures openness and curiosity in oneself, the client, and the coaching process. And then 2.10 remains aware of the influence of one's thoughts and behaviors on the client and others. And I think that one is probably the most explicitly reflexive, that demonstrate that reflexivity, that you are noticing your own thoughts and how they could impact, how, that relational space with your client. Okay.
Shakti has a question.
Oh, yes, please.
Or wants to say something.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about 207, because now that we're kind of putting a mirror on these things, or a magnifying glass, maybe is a better word. Can you share a little bit more how you interpret 2.07 and what that means, when we're all human beings, right? And none of us, I think, are always in
Yeah,
a
and please, anybody, again, I don't want to be here as the expert. I didn't write these, but I have the interpretation just like you all do. And for me, what I hear in this is that, again, I think ICF knows that we are human beings, and that we also may be having things in our environment, in our life, that kind of tip the balance in our own well-being. And how we, like, let's say, for example, for me, I have insomnia sometimes, and it goes in cycles. Sometimes, I'm much better. Some days I have really hard time sleeping. And when I have a hard time sleeping, I can't be I can't do my best coaching. I'm tired. I feel foggy in my brain. And so that's my well-being. And so that's mine to manage, right? So it's kind of little things like that. It's being aware of how the environment, the external, the everything that, impacts your emotional, physical, and mental well-being can sort of influence that space that you are with your client. So that's just like a very tangible example that I could think of, that I need to maintain my well-being and be aware that to be the best service of my client, I need to make sure that I get good sleep, that that I'm well rested, that sort of thing. Does that help, Shakti?
It does. I think I'm a little bit like distraught by the word maintains there, because it implies that I am explicitly maintaining this state of well-being at
Hmm.
all times, and almost as if I'm a robot.
Yeah.
Whereas, just like you just described, I think every human being has their own story like that, or multiple versions of it. Um, to me, having awareness of and attending to these things, like, etc., for the rest of the sentence, that resonates with me, and I just you know, that those are the first words that came to my mind, because it's about having the awareness. Like, we do have a responsibility to constantly, actively be aware of and to attend to in the best way of our capacity. But to maintain it feels like maintaining to me means that it is that you are in a state of well-being at all times. And to
Yeah.
me, that's kind of an impossibility by definition. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And maybe for you, you can reframe it that way for yourself, that you know that you're noticing it, and you know and that you work on it, but you can't ensure that you're always going to be at, at that state. But yeah, I
May I
appreciate.
may
Yes,
I add
please.
something?
Please.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm driving now. But I think the maintenance part is, for me, how I take it is when it's not being maintained, our well-being has not been maintained, and we are not at quote unquote at our best, let's say, then it's our responsibility to choose whether we want to partner with a client or not at those times. So I think it's kind of elevating that when we're not at our best, we're not going to give our best to our clients. We're not going to be able to listen as well, reflect, notice all the things, that we're is part of our responsibility, if you will. And I know it's not, it's like you said, might be impossible to do all the time. And it's something to strive for if we want to be in a coaching mode, is how I'm interpreting it, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another perspective to look at it. So when I think about in terms of me not sleeping well, my sense of responsibility tells me I would reschedule with a client if I were feeling like really foggy, and I would not serve them at my best capacity. And usually I contract with my clients, around are you flexible with schedule changes, 24-hour notice, type of thing. Usually we would contract for that, but yeah, it wouldn't feel right for me to continue a coaching session that was already scheduled if I knew I'm foggy and I'm not able to focus. Yeah. Okay, so let's distinguish this a little bit more. Reflective and a practice and reflexivity, both are essential to coaching. Both are essential. They serve different purposes and happen at different times sometimes, but reflection is what most of us are already familiar with. It's the intentional process of looking before, after a session, after an experience, and then make what's the learning. It's asking about, what happened, what did I notice, what worked, what didn't work, what might I do differently. So it helps us integrate all that learning to grow and refine our own practice as coaches. Reflexivity is kind of looking at a different muscle. It's kind of working a different muscle. It's the awareness that happens in the moment. As you're with the client and having that ability to notice what's happening in me, between us and around us right now. It's noticing that relational space. I don't know if you've ever been in a coaching session that becomes uncomfortable or kind of awkward or something around that, where something becomes part of that space, and then all of a sudden you're noticing, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. And it could be that maybe you feel a little pull in your chest, or maybe you notice a judgment forming, or an assumption that is rising within you. And that reflexivity is being able to catch that in the moment, in real time. So it's becoming aware of the whole of who we are, obviously not leaving the client, but knowing that it all happens very fast. We all know this, that when we make an assumption about something, it's there before we know it. But it's knowing it and being able to see it, and also even thinking through beyond sessions, becoming aware of your history, your culture, your values, your lived experience, and all of that moving through you each and every moment, that shape who you are as a coach. And it could be a beautiful thing. It could be a beautiful partnership. And it could also, if you're not aware of it, get in the way. So here in America, we live in a fast-paced world. And we're go, 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 go. Other countries are not like us. And so if we are, let's say, a high-performance coach, and we're all about high performance, we might see somebody who doesn't value that as being passive. And it may impact how we coach our clients. So it's being aware of those little nuances in what we believe or what we think about, all of those that kind of arise in the moment, and sort of looking at them, putting them aside, and connecting with your client, because that's what gives us the curiosity, the curiosity to ask, what's it like for you? I notice when things are moving super slow, but what's your experience of that? And so it's all of those things. You're asking what is happening inside of me right now, and looking after the session, how might my history, my identity be shaping what I'm noticing even in the client, what's unfolds in that space. Okay, so if reflection and learning from our experience and reflexivity is about noticing, within our experience, then the question is, what's actually shaping that awareness? And so this is what I call the 3 layers of reflexivity. It's my own synthesis from several scholars that I follow. And what I have learned from there is that our coaching presence is shaped by these 3 interdependent forces, if you will. Our personal identity, our values, our even the training, all our training that we have, our frameworks, our tools, our models, and then of course the larger systemic context that we are part of. So they all represent all the influences that are always present within us, not just as coaches, but as human beings, how we relate to our own families and people that are different than us. These are the things that influence what we consider to be normal or appropriate or professional. Sometimes they inform the types of questions that we ask, what we consider even good coaching. And this is where sometimes our biases can sneak in. So reflexivity is right there in the center. It's that awareness of how all these 3 could be shaping our coaching, and that just recognizing that there's many layers to all of us that has shaped us. And so it's this is inviting us to notice how much of our own lens is directing the conversation versus the client. So when we can notice that and accept, honor that we are a system in and of ourselves, we can gain choice, right? We can notice those things as they're happening. We can pause, we can shift, we can decide to hold space differently. We can ask the client how they want us to hold space for them, put our focus back on the client. And that's where our presence deepens, is where we are able to notice those things. And, we become aware of them, and then we get back to how we want to serve our client best. So you've seen this metaphor before, right? We see what's visible, the coaching conversation, what the client says, what they don't say, the goals they want, what we ask, our tools, our systems is all what we know and see in the surface. But what do you think may be below the surface that it's not readily seen? Based on what you've learned so far about reflexivity and what is happening in the space beneath the surface that's could be shaping the conversation, what ideas come to mind as you think about what are the invisible influences or that could be down here in this area?
Nancy, I think you shared in the last slide, but all of our experiences, personal and professional, and culture and trauma, everything we bring within ourselves to the coaching session. That's what's underneath. And sometimes it may surface.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And think about when you feel strongly about something, right? When you feel strongly about a politics, let's just say that's a, or have opposing views from your client, different value systems. So those are the invisible things that could shape how we ask questions and what we even hear from our client. Here's a few others for the sake of time. So many layers that we don't always see, but they're constantly shaping the space, our nervous system, our hormones. All that happens very automatically in the space. So the invitation is, can we notice all the physiological data, just like we notice our clients' physiology, their body language? The invitation is to notice our own. Notice when you relate to your client so much that then it turns into counter transference or, that sort of thing. So it's being aware of what's happening under our own waterline, emotionally, somatically, and use that awareness consciously so that you move in that space for the benefit of your client. So you can think about, what values, what assumptions, what beliefs do I have that color the way that I might even listen to my client. Some people may say the word president and it triggers something, right? So it's knowing that in you and saying, can I still hold space here for my clients? So this model, again, it's kind of repetition. It's the reflexive coach model, and it's a simple way to think about all of our layers. And I made this because I was inspired. There's an original diversity wheel that was developed by some researchers back in the 90s. And that model was designed to help people reflect on their identity and diversity within organizations. So I adapted that here to help us reflect on our own layers as coaches, the dimensions that we have that can show up in the coaching space. So that inner circle, as you can see, represents our internal identity. That's kind of like what's hardwired already in our nervous system, shaped by our lived experience, kind of how we automatically show up. We don't have to think about it. The middle circle represents our external identity, and that's more kind of like how the systems and the context that we're part of have shaped the way that we show up relationally to others, what we've learned and all of that. It includes our education, our training, our communication style, all the cultural professional norms that we've internalized. And then the outer circle is our contextual identity. And that's sort of like the wider frame that holds our worldview. They kind of become our worldview, our personal, code of ethics, all of those things that we see as right, that we see as wrong, or that we see this is the way that it is in my world. So in coaching, every moment can potentially be touched by all of these influences that we have. Again, this is where reflexivity comes in. Noticing that in you, noticing your client, noticing what in your training might be influencing or shaping the coaching space itself. Again, not that it has to be negative. It could be positive. Yes, Erica.
Question in the external one, it says DEIGB. What does it mean?
So it may be your views around that. It could be, what you now believe, about all of that. Diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, belonging. So what is now a part of your system that is ingrained? And maybe it changes contextually. I don't know, but it's kind of like that. This is my philosophy. Yeah. Okay. So these are the three dimensions now of reflexivity. This is another tool. And if you all want a copy of the slides, I'm happy to give this to you so you can kind of think through it as you move through your practice as a coach. So we start with reflection. That's what we all know to do, looking, asking what happened, what did I do well, what can go better next time. Then we move inward to a more holistic approach. How are my biases, emotions, identity shaping the moment? What's happening inside of me right now? And then critical reflexivity is sort of like taking more of a global view of the cultures, the systems, the power dynamics that have shaped our lives. What was I taught from way back when? Do I want to keep that? Do I want to keep that? So it's kind of looking critically at all that has influenced who we are. How do we define success, and where did I get that? Where did I learn that from? So all of that could get into the space. So that's another tool that that you can kind of sort of think about as you move through coaching. Okay, so we're at 3:40. We've covered a lot in this small space. So I would love for you to just pause and think for a moment. If you could name one thing that you might be more aware of as we've been thinking and talking through this in yourself, in your coaching presence, anything that stuck out to you, anything that you may want to notice more of as you move through coaching. What might you now be more aware of? Or keep exploring. You don't have to be more aware of, but just kind of continue to keep exploring.
Do you want us to share out loud?
Yeah, yes, please. Yeah.
I think something that came about for me is in the first breakout, something that showed up was like, and I repulsed from it, was like, because you said something like, who am I as a coach? I think was that if that was a question, and I wrote like someone who saves people, right? Like a savior. And I'm like, no, I know I'm not supposed to solve problems, but that was like the thought that came to me. And as we went through all of this, one of the things that keeps popping up in my head is, and I do believe this, but I think I don't apply the application of it, is that human beings are not fragile. Like, we are not going to break. If people are crying, and like, they're going to be fine, they're going to come out of it eventually, or whatever it is. But I think that keeps rolling in my head of like, if my clients are not fragile, then if I can really embrace that belief and put it into use, then what would my coaching look like a little bit more from from that savior place.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Nancy.
That's a good one. That is a good one too, because it's well-meaning, right? We want to help. And yet true partnership, really true partnership is recognizing that our clients are not needy, that they don't need fixing, that they don't need to be rescued.
Yeah, rescued. That's
Yes,
the
Claudia.
word. Thank you.
I want to read some comments in the
Oh,
chat.
yes, please. Yes.
Kim says the energy connection and impact on our clients. That's the answering your question. Reagan says, one thing that came up for me was thinking about the idea that I have a responsibility to work with clients I can maintain my well-being around. I have to think deeply about what my well-being boundaries might be. And Rosario says, I need to be more reflective and work on self-reflexivity.
Thank you all. Those are great reflections. Our work is never done, is it? We just continue to learn more and more about ourselves. And I think, you know, what I love about coaching, as Erica was saying earlier, is that we all probably are learners that want to continue to grow and develop ourselves. And those are great qualities to bring to coaching, that we're not always going to get it right. But we strive for it anyway. We strive to serve our clients at our highest level, and that we take ownership of what we're bringing to the table without shaming ourselves and just seeing that humanity. So yeah, being aware of body language, somebody, Heather said. So, you know, this, you all know, you've seen this. It's a simple, very simple exercise. And that's how I want to land the plane here with something very practical that you can do. It's kind of how you can operationalize reflexivity. That pause a lot more than you're used to. That's a huge one. I think that for me, it has helped me grow more in coaching, is to kind of, I try to pretend that I'm in a slow motion experience. and I pause a lot more than you know, trying to have the next thing at the ready. It's just knowing, okay, why am I so eager to ask the next question? What, you know, what is causing that? What is it? Do I want to seem smart? Do I want to seem like I know what I'm doing here? Would I look dumb if I create too much space? Is my client going to think, what the heck is wrong with her? Why isn't she saying anything? You know, all of these thoughts that come into the space, which they have for me. And yet now I'm kind of practicing, I'm gonna pause even 5 more seconds after that. Let's see what else comes up in my brain. And letting that in, just watching that, kind of like watching the rolling credits of the movie. They're just kind of going by, you know, they're going by. And turn that attention inside, but not too much, obviously. Not away from your client, but alongside the awareness that is in the space. So you notice that, asking yourself, what's happening inside of me right now? What am I thinking, feeling, sensing in my body? Like I just shared a bunch of thoughts that come up for me. So it's micro noticing, not self-analysis. You don't have time for self-analysis right then and there. It's this micro noticing. It's just noticing, okay, it's a split-second awareness. And just noticing, it brings you back to being grounded. And you could maybe even give it language. I'm noticing a judgment arising. I'm noticing the sensation that I want to rescue my client or fix my client. Or there's a sensation in my experience. You're noticing your own physiology. And then choosing to come back to presence and return to curiosity. So you might take a breath, you might soften your body, whatever it needs to do. I heard from a coach this week that is in some training with me, and he said, what I like to do is I have a cup of coffee, even if there's no coffee there. I just pretend that I just took a sip, and it slows me down for 5 more seconds so that I don't have to say anything. And then it gives him a few seconds to sort of reorient himself, reground himself. So let me see what, Shakti, you wrote something. For me, what comes up strongly now is to continue to and focus on being in the space and mindset of not knowing. Yes, which hopefully creates a larger opportunity for client to work in their wellness. Is that wellness and really remains with
No,
their
it's
agenda and
their,
their
sorry, it's the, the, creative, resourceful, and wholeness.
Okay, yeah. I like it. Okay. Yes. Exactly. It brings you back to what is present for my client. So, and it's also that space where you just notice, oh, there goes my bias that just kind of stepped into the session. Okay, I'm gonna put it away, or I'm just gonna notice it and I'm gonna get back to my client. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here with me and engaging in the conversation. We're all building that muscle together, and I appreciate your time with me today.
Thank you, Nancy. Please don't go just
I
yet.
will.
We have the feedback form for you guys to fill out and let us know how we're doing, how we did, feedback for our speaker, and feedback for the programming team. That would be awesome. So
Yeah, I actually would love to know, maybe even just a one word takeaway. What you're taking away.
yeah, what's your takeaway from the session?
Yeah, you could do one word or 2 words or a sentence if you'd like.
Work more on me.
One.
Yeah. Presence.
Yeah. Self-awareness. Own and care for my mindset. It's precious for client work in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
needs to be on a headliner.
Huh?
Clients are not fragile.
Yeah, I love that, Manor.
Yes. So good. Tune in. Stay
And
curious.
also, like you said, Nancy, self-compassion for ourselves, because we want to be perfect and always
Yeah.
be at 100%. And sometimes we're human, sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's key. That's key to reflexivity, is to have self-compassion,
right.
because otherwise it will get in the way of your own reflexivity and reflective practice. Be a bridge to solution, not the solution. Yeah.
Stay curious and keep up my reflective practices, Dr. Liesel.
Give ourselves grace.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Great reflections.
Thank you so much for being here and for being resilient till the end of this summit.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's right. This is the last one.
Last month, 15 sessions. So thank you so much for being here and for your discipline and persistence. We'll see you guys. Stay tuned for our master classes by master coaches coming up in November and December. So keep an eye out for those. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
If anybody wants
Thank
to
you so
connect on
much.
LinkedIn, connect with me. I'd love to be friends.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Thank you.